We are 48 schools across 14 cities, but together we are one Shawnee Mission, and this is our time to shine.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to episode 6 of Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. Welcome back to our listeners, but I'm hopeful today that we have some new listeners out there. We're always hoping to grow our audience, so if you know a friend, tell them to join in Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. We would love to have additional listeners. My name is Dr. Michelle Hubbard, and I am the host for Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up.
And I'm Dr. Jeremy Higgins, and excited to be the co-host for Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. Again, glad that everyone is listening in. We also have a special visitor with us, a little guest lecturer, I guess you could say, Ms. Sherry Demeline, who is our Chief of Special Education. So, Sherry, welcome. Glad that you're here. And first off, you want to just give our listeners a little information about yourself and who you are and what you do for the district?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Very excited to have the opportunity to be here. So as Dr. Higgins indicated, I'm Shawnee Demeline. I serve as the Chief Special Education leader for the Shawnee Mission School District. And my responsibilities are really, there's a broad scope. So anything from student services to various equipment needs that the students may have within the district, staff training, meetings with parents, and then also ensuring that we have the necessary compliance factors with the legal aspects of special education as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Sherry, we could probably talk for the entire 20 minutes of our podcast today just on what you do. So you're selling yourself a little bit short, but we're glad you're here today. Thanks for being here.
I would like to know, how long have you been in Shawnee Mission?
So this is the start of my 9th year in the Shawnee Mission School District. I did have a gap year, so took a little time away with my family for a year, and then came back to the district. It just felt like this was the place that I was meant to be. So very happy to be here.
Great. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. So a little recap on from episode 5, I guess it was. Last episode, we had a couple students, Jewel and Natalia, in to talk about the parades at Shawnee Mission South and Shawnee Mission Northwest. Dr. Hubbard, I think that you got to attend those?
I did.
Yeah?
But first of all, I just want to say how awesome they were. They did such a great job, and you can just tell their passion for their respective high schools, but, and just how excited and organized they were in processing how that parade was going to work. And since then, I had the opportunity to participate in both of those parades. So that was super fun. And it was just fun. They talked about the themes and how they came to that. And it was just fun to see it in action. Yeah. So both of them were beautiful days, which is not always the case for the parades. I remember last year in the Shawnee Mission South Parade, it was so cold and raining. And it just kind of just puts a damper, no pun intended, on all of the work they do to put into those floats and props and things that they use. But beautiful day, really nice and warm with our unseasonably warm weather right now. But just kudos to them and their leadership and all the students that surround them, whether it be student council or Spirit Club, and just the work that they've done in regards to that.
Yeah, and with those homecoming events kind of coming to a close now, it's almost starting to feel like fall sports is coming to an end, and we're going to be transitioning to winter sport. I know it's even kind of hard to think about that, but it's going to be upon us really quick. It's just more opportunities, though, for our students to really get engaged and get involved in their school community. So excited about what lies ahead for all the high schools, for sure.
For sure.
What else is going on in the district? Other events that you've been able to be part of or celebrate at?
So, that is one thing that I work exceptionally hard on, is being present in our schools as much as I possibly can. Unfortunately, it's not always the case, but when I can, I do for sure. And in the past weeks, I had the opportunity to join Sherry at Lenexa Hills Elementary School, where we received a $25,000 grant donation from Variety KC, and they are so supportive of inclusion in our schools. And so we're going to talk about some equipment here as well. But let's start by just talking, Sherry, about our relationship with Variety KC and what that event at Lenexa Hills was all about.
Right. So I feel very fortunate. We have such a working relationship with Variety KC, and we had the opportunity to receive a grant last school year through them to create adaptive experiences for students in the Shawnee Mission School District. And so I will tell you that we had a team of individuals come together and really hone in what can that look like in Shawnee Mission, and where can we create an impact not in just one location, but across the district. And so while the event was actually at Lenexa Hills, the impact is far spread throughout the district. We had the opportunity to have to highlight some of our students in the special education population with peers to demonstrate. It's a piece of equipment called the Overcomer. And so it's a piece of equipment that allows individuals with varying needs, whether you have limited vision, maybe you have some limited mobility, it can meet a variety of needs. But it allows them to really interact right alongside their peers. So an example, earlier, we had a student who used that piece of equipment to hit a golf ball and right alongside a peer who was also hitting a golf ball, right? So it just creates that sense of inclusion and that sense of opportunity for these individuals to be able to connect and also to be active and to be able to interact with one another in a very meaningful way. So it was very powerful and very rewarding. So not only did Variety KC, did we have that opportunity for some various equipment across the district, they've been so generous, and we are can I share some secret information that's coming?
I would love for you to. Okay. Absolutely.
So we're very excited. So later during the month of October, we're going to be able to have sensory bags available at all of our buildings throughout the district, right? So, and the sensory bag is it'll have about 5 pieces of equipment in that in itself. Things like noise canceling headphones or some fidget types of items, a weighted lap pad, and then a couple of other pieces of things so if I am coming to an event within the building, it's something that a school can hand out to an individual and then obtain back, but it would just allow for further access and further participation for individuals within our community as they come up to partake and participate in the things that we have going on across the district. So that's coming later this month. It's very exciting.
And all thanks to Variety KC.
All thanks to Variety KC. And in fact, they did an additional fundraiser to help impact our entire district. They really wanted to not just limit that. The other piece, as part of that opportunity, is we unveiled a book, Maddox's Dream. It's a Variety KC book, and highlighted that at Lenexa Hills, where Mr. Brewer was able to read it to the group. But again, the work of Variety KC, whether it's partnering with us in Shawnee Mission or just in the community as it stands, it's really about creating those inclusive opportunities for individuals and really breaking down those barriers. And so I feel very fortunate of our connection and our partnership. It just continues to help us help individuals feel included and feel a part, and really break down some of those unknowns.
Let's talk a little bit about that feeling included piece, because I know that as part of our current bond that was passed in January of 2021, it is a goal to have an inclusive playground at all of our elementary schools. And I'm really happy to share that as of date, we have 31 of the 34 complete. So yeah, that is really awesome. And I always like to give credit to Olivia Bloomfield, who was a student at Corinth Elementary School that has since passed away. But I just like to say her legacy continues to live on in Shawnee Mission. And it's just so amazing to walk to these new playgrounds and see the opportunity for kids to be included. Is there anything you would want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say it creates not only, I think the question obviously that people often have is that the impact that it has on individuals who are served under the special education umbrella, but it also has an impact on everyone, right? And I don't think that people always understand that full impact, but to see the connections that are made and the lifelong friendships and the supports that can then create great for further families, right? So we also have another student who is a Variety KC champion, if you will. His name is Caden Griffin also, and he has a book through Variety KC. We serve Caden within our school district as well. And he has some very powerful, when you think about inclusive opportunities, he has some limited dexterity, right? And so he isn't able to fully just touch an iPad to be able to activate various pieces. And so with the support of our assistive technology team and his IEP team, they've really wrapped around and with 3D printing have been able to create a stylus, if you will, to be able to help with a soft touch, to be able to help with that interactivity. And he's a Variety KC author. I have the book in my office. It's really amazing
That's
to
awesome.
see.
That's awesome. Yeah. One of those connection points, at the event at Lenexa Hills, the Overcomer, they were using it for golf and also baseball, and just the cheers that went out when one of the students hit I was like, all right, that's what it's all about. So that's pretty cool. Dr. Hubbard, so you mentioned 31 of the 34 schools have inclusive playgrounds now. I assume that we've got the last 3 coming on board here fairly shortly, and then our listeners may not know exactly what it means to have an inclusive playground. Can we paint a picture for maybe what that might look like?
Absolutely. So I'll start, and then you may want to add to it. But I think the most important thing is that kids can access the playground, right? So whether that's through a wheelchair, a walker, or even kids that just have limited mobility skills. If you think back to our playgrounds, they might have been gravel or wood chips or maybe just dirt. And so kids being able to get there is really important. So they all have a turf with zero, you don't have to get up onto it, like over a curb or something. It's just a flat surface where kids can go straight on. Also, the equipment is made so that kids, especially in a wheelchair, or I guess all 3, limited mobility, can move up the ramps. And so not just stairs, which traditionally has been the case. And then also we have some other equipment that for kids with maybe hearing impairment or visual impairment, that's a tactile, or larger swings so that kids can be removed from a wheelchair if that's the case and placed into the swing. So what else would you add?
Yeah, so the other piece that I would add, and this isn't widespread yet, but it's something that we're continuing to work on, is in some locations we have what's called a core communication board. And basically it's a chart of visuals, right? So a student who has limited vocabulary is able to go and point to various pieces and again, express and have that communication. So our Early Childhood Center is one of the locations that we have one of those core communication boards. And it's really powerful because then it creates, they can have a peer or a friend with them or speaking to the adults, right, by using those icons and pointing to maybe something that they want to be able to be more interactive or somebody that they want to do that interactive item with.
I think this is a good transition in regards to, you mentioned the word assistive technology. You've talked a little bit about it. I actually saw that at Lenexa Hills. It was the most amazing. There was a young lady there that had a visual board in front of her, but she couldn't access it with her hands. And so she was moving the board, and I was so impressed with what was happening, but she was doing it all with her eyes. And so the board was set up so that when she looked at a particular icon, that it typed it for her so she could communicate back to me.
Wow.
It was so impressive. And just an amazing piece of technology. And I know that you brought some things with you today. What would you share about the things that we have here today?
Sure. So the things that I brought today were another kind of aspect of ways that we can create these inclusive opportunities for students across our district. But this item here is actually, it is called a Braille writer. And so this one is actually getting ready to be repaired. However, in instances to where we have to have a a student who is able and fluent in Braille, they are able to use this piece of equipment in lieu of paper pencil, right? So they're able to, it's almost, those of us who have been around a minute, it does look like a typewriter,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
However, it really, you put your paper in kind of like a typewriter, but it actually writes out in Braille. And so students who are able to engage in that work. But this piece of equipment, I find pretty remarkable. And so this is actually called a Braille display. And so, again, technology, right? A student can, with their MacBook, they can have a text on their screen, and then they can read that text in Braille and be right alongside peers on their MacBooks, right? So it's a very powerful, very expensive, but very powerful piece of equipment that we have a variety of students who, again, every student's journey is individualized, right? And so some students definitely are in a place that they can access these types of things, and then other students we're working to get to that place for them. It's quite remarkable.
It's truly amazing what technology, what doors it's opened for kids. And in life in general, I guess. But
I would say all of us.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But right. Through this conversation today and the inclusive efforts being made for every student, just some of those things that we have available to us are crazy and just amazing. So
we have another student across the district who we are utilizing. I mean, talk about fascinating. Don't quote the full name of this piece of equipment, but it's essentially a neuro node equipment that connects to the student's arm, and then with the neuro pathways, it's able to help kind of trigger responses and engagement with the student. And again, it's pretty remarkable when you think of the different ways that you can receive output from a student, right? Whether it's an eye gaze situation like you described at Lenexa Hills, or whether it's, pointing to an icon, or whether it's utilizing a neuro node piece of equipment. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So with that, I'm going to just transition us as it's almost time to close for today. But just a reminder that our strategic plan is really talks about having this equitable, inclusive environment. Back to Lenexa Hills, just the peers that were there to support them in their journey just to get to the gym, to cheer them on when they were hitting the balls, to hold their hands, to just put smiles on their face. And you could see kids, even nonverbal kids, when they saw a peer or a friend coming to them, the smiles on their faces. I mean, sometimes I get a little emotional about it. It was so amazing just how much our whole community wraps around these kids that we've been talking about today, and very close to my heart, as you all know, in regards to special education. But
that's what it's all about. It's about those remarkable experiences for those kids, just like parades provide experiences for other. It's that experience that is just so meaningful for those kids, for all of our kids here in the district. So,
and I think it's just a great example of all means all in this equitable environment we're trying to create. So,
it creates some genuine, authentic relationships and connections. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of your work, Sherry, and we're really proud of the special education teachers and paraprofessionals and all the other team members, OT, PT, speech language. I could continue to name, but knowing that it really does take a team to support all of our kids. So just a big shout out to all of those team members that are out there working with our kids every single day and loving them like they're their own. So we're very appreciative of that.
Absolutely. Hard work does not go unnoticed in any way. So
yeah, I feel very fortunate. We have such a strong special education department in all aspects. Our paraeducators, our teachers, and they're so creative in problem-solving ways that they can meet individual student needs and create ways that they can be part of those school communities and ultimately our whole community as a district.
I probably should put in a shameless plug here. I mean, we're always looking for great individuals to come and join our team. Obviously, as paraprofessionals, certified teachers, special education, regular education. More information is on the website, the district website. So we would love for people to come and join the Shawnee Mission team.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for joining us today. We're really glad you're here. I would just remind everyone that Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up drops every 2 weeks. So we'll be joining you again in 2 weeks. And you can check out the webpage and see past episodes at smsd.org. And there's also a feedback link if there's something you would like for us to have a conversation about. We're always looking for people to jump out there.
Next episode, so I think we're going to have a couple of special guests that have a fairly important role within the school district. A couple of board members might be joining us. Is that correct, Dr. Hubbard?
I'm not giving that up yet. I'm going to say it is election season. And yes, we are going to have some special guests. So I will leave it at that for now.
Perfect. Our quote for the day. So we are tapping into the Kansas City Chiefs Instagram page. They've been doing some shining of their own. So we thought we'd steal a quote from the Chiefs. They posted yesterday, "The lights are so bright, but they never blind us." So shout out to the Chiefs for giving us some inspiration for that quote. Shout out to Logan DeAngelis again with the music on the podcast, the intro music. And a special thanks to our communications team as well for all the work that they do behind the scenes on this.
Thanks for everyone for joining us today. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. And until then, shine on, Shawnee Mission.